Okay, Stuart. So it was another difficult night in Europe for Mancini's men. You were obviously there in Napoli. What are your reflections on the game?
Well, it was a below average performance to say the least. I mean, City's average these days is pretty good. It's better than most people's good. Yeah, there's a lot of lessons to be learned from it. They were caught on the counter-attack an awful lot again. I thought they might have learned from the first game against Napoli that is their strength. They've got those three players, Hamsik, Lavezzi and Cavani up front who hit you fast and hit you hard. But City have a sort of overwhelming belief that they can outscore anybody, and perhaps that's a lesson that they're not always going to be able to do that. I know there's a lot of spotlight being shone on the two fullbacks, especially the selection, because Micah Richards had a great game against Newcastle, scored one and earned a penalty and really looked the business. But Mancini's not got a great, well it seems he's not got a huge amount of faith in him in the Champions League. Micah played at Bayern Munich and was caught out a little bit there. He didn't quite look up to that standard, and since then Roberto's picked Pablo Zabaleta at right back. Perhaps the game the other night was a situation where Micah's attacking ability was perhaps missed. I mean, Pablo's a fine player and a very good, tactically very aware, and a more than adequate right back. But he didn't really offer an awful lot going forward, and that's what City needed at times.
Yeah, I mean, how do you see the group panning out now? Obviously, City's fate's out of their own hands, but there is still a glimmer of hope for them.
Yeah, I mean, people were talking as though it was all over, which I find amazing. I mean, I'm a natural pessimist, but I don't really see it that way at all. I mean, Napoli have got to go to Villarreal. They're a very good team on their own patch, but away from home they're not entirely convincing. They've lost games in Serie A. They were expected to win this season, so they're not they're not an awesome, fearsome kind of side. Villarreal, we know they haven't picked up a point yet in the Champions League, but they're a very proud club, and I can imagine that they won't want to go through a whole group campaign without winning a single point. So they'll be able to get something out of the game. And it's not like the English League. I mean, La Liga, Villarreal are right down the middle of the table. They're not really going for anything. It's unlikely they'll get Champions League football. They're certainly not going to be challenging for the title. So it's not as if that they'll need to rest players and for the weekend game. They're more than likely going to field a strong team and look to finish their Champions League campaign on a high. So people are just thinking it's entirely over. I don't quite see it that way at all.
Okay, just looking back towards this weekend then, another massive game for City at Liverpool.
It is. I've just been looking at the game for tomorrow's paper, but I think this could be City's hardest test of the season to date. I know there's been big games at United and at Tottenham, but this is coming off the back of a defeat. The last defeat they had, Bayern Munich, the game immediately afterwards was a trip to Blackburn, and with all due respect to Blackburn, that's the kind of game that you want after you've had a damaging kind of defeat, especially a European defeat. It's never going to be the hardest game of the season going to Ewood Park, and City won that 4-0 and they were straight back on track. Going to Liverpool is an entirely different kettle of fish. I mean, Liverpool have made a knack out of beating the big teams. If they could only beat the average and the poor teams in the same way, they would be up there as title contenders, but they haven't found that consistency. I mean, they've beaten Chelsea and Arsenal already this season away. Last season they beat Chelsea, United and City at Anfield. It's a difficult place to go. City lost their 3-0 last season. In fact, that's the last time anybody scored more than 2 goals against City. So that's perhaps a measure of the task that's facing City.
Right, and then I know it's almost an impossible guessing game, but if you had to, what sort of team do you think Mancini will go with at Anfield?
Well, I think the two fullbacks will be back again, Clichy and Richards. Obviously, the two centre halves will stay in place. In front of that, it tends to be anybody's guess because Roberto's extremely hard to second guess. But you'd imagine Gareth Barry equation. You know, he's perfectly suited for a game like that. He's a top Premier League performer. And a little bit further forward, strikers, it's a tough one. You would imagine that Aguero and Balotelli might be the two that you'd go with. And then obviously Silva, Yaya Toure. Samir Nasri comes into it very much so, as somebody who came on as a substitute. So I think we're looking at a team along those lines. Whether De Jong plays and he pushes Yaya forward is another matter, but I suspect maybe he'll start with Yaya a little bit deeper with Gareth Barry.
Okay, sure.